when you're talking to somebody beyond the titles. I think we're in a very, again, title centric society. Beyond the titles of I'm the director of blah, 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 blah. Talk to people about their responsibilities, right? Talk to people about what's going on in their life, what keeps them up at night, what they're responsible for, what happens if they don't produce. Welcome back. Really excited about this next topic. Really wanted to talk about building relationships, especially long term quality relationships with decision makers. First and foremost, I want to say this isn't how to sell, how to underwrite somebody in the first conversation, really be transactional. I think we're really, unfortunately, in a really transactional society, this being 2026. Hopefully it changes. I don't see it changing anytime soon, but you could quickly tell whether somebody's really interested in you or interested in what they can get from you. And that's a thing to where in sales, automatically, right, it comes through if it's to car salesman or what have you. I think that's a cliche piece, or as a past guest said, with Boiler Room or any sales movie, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, always be closing, or what have you. There's people who are really transactional, and there's people who are genuinely interested in you. So I really wanted to have this conversation, a sit down conversation, to talk to you about how to build long lasting relationships with decision makers. First and foremost, as we go to the four pillars, right? You have your mindset, your planning, your execution, and then your sustainability. This really goes into the mindset. You can't build an authentic relationship without being authentic with yourself, without understanding your own lane, your own plans, and what you're doing going forward. Because people will want to know you for you and want to know you for the value you bring, and them knowing that you're not going to be here today and gone tomorrow, or that you're only interested in something for the time being. Listen, there's always new ways to make money, right? You can make money at basket weaving. You can make money selling pencils, for now at least. You can make money in all these types of different things. So be mindful that you're not the person going to the latest thing that you saw somebody get rich on. I'll say first and foremost, find out what your purpose is, find out what you're genuinely interested in. It might sound really weird or cliche, but find out or think about what you would do for free, right? Not necessarily a vacation, right? Not going to the, highest steakhouses and all that type of stuff. But what thing can you really nerd out on? And what thing can you tell somebody about, whether it's painting, finance, what have you, right? Because every industry needs a business development person. Every industry needs an account manager. Every industry needs somebody on the front end to then find the client and secure that relationship. That's really what we're talking about here. So, long lasting, long term relationships with decision makers. The other key is when you're talking to somebody beyond the titles. I think we're in a very, again, title centric society. Beyond the titles of I'm the director of blah, 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 blah. Talk to people about their responsibilities, right? Talk to people about what's going on in their life, what keeps them up at night, what they're responsible for, what happens if they don't produce. Right? I think we're in a lot of networking areas right now, and people go out happy hour, they talk big, what have you. It's always great to talk about the high end stuff, but really talk about your responsibilities to find that out, and then have your thing to offer. That's the number one way to identify decision makers. So when you go into, decision makers, directors, here's the big difference between regular sales and business to business sales. Most decision makers, whether they're vice presidents, directors, C-suite, or what have you, think more long term, especially in commercial real estate. One of my mentors said, commercial real estate for large corporations is one of the top reasons why executives lose their jobs, because it is a major investment towards a long term, whether it's a factory, an office building, trucking routes, distribution. If you're wrong, it's going to set the company back. It's going to really affect people downline, jobs, budgets, what have you. So your clients, your decision makers, they're really going to focus on what does this mean 1, 3, and 5 years out, right? And that conversation is going to be very, very detailed. It's not going to be a one-time conversation over cocktails where you say a magic combination of words and you think you're the best person and sign on the dotted line. It's understanding different markets. It's understanding um, truck routes. It's understanding the cost of fuels. Understanding the cost of timber for home builders, what have you. That's why you need to nerd out on certain things. Why you need to be a technician on certain things to then be able to move forward. If they're more shorter term residential sales and they like the living room or the commute or the kitchen, that's more of an emotional feel. That's more of what we call B2C, business to consumer, right? Cell phones or what have you. But business to business is long-term thinking. So when you're talking to somebody, when you're understanding somebody, and really when you're understanding your value, you want to move forward and understand what your value brings to somebody long term. Understand how they're evaluated. What are some long term goals that you can assist with? And understand a sales cycle in B2B sales, if you're lucky, can be 6 months. I know people that have had 20, 25-year relationships that transacted over that time. Now that doesn't mean going back to the very first episode, that doesn't mean you just have one deal and you're waiting on this one deal to close. You need to build up a community of decision makers, convene those community of decision makers, and understand those various timelines and stack those timelines on each other. With building relationships with decision makers, long-term ideas, long-term thinking, a way of confirming, right? Like somebody's not going to come back like, yeah, you're the best person ever, and we want to move forward. You'll know when they start reaching out to you for information. You'll know when someone says, "You said this last time. Can you provide more information?" Or you'll know when at first, in the first conversation, everybody has you believe everything's going great, they're going smooth, there's no need for anything new. And then a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year later, you get a call, said, "Hey, you're definitely when you said something about real estate in Oklahoma. I have a ranch. I didn't mention that to anybody. I want to sell that to an industrial park. Can we talk about real estate in Oklahoma and what else going on between us? I'm just exploring the idea. Anytime anybody says they're exploring the idea and they are the decision maker, they are the owner, they're doing more than just exploring the idea. They just don't want you to come back and try to try to speed up their timeline, so to speak. I'm going through that right now with about 3 or 4 different deals, uh, 2 in Oklahoma, 1 in Arizona, and 1 in Florida, where people are reaching out to me. They've been talking about deals. I was at a dinner with the group out of Oklahoma, and they were talking about the deals. And the whole night, I was talking about what I did in family and so on and so forth. No idea. They said they weren't in real estate at all. We're waiting on the valet. And the guy said, "Well, you know what? We have 2 properties I need to mention to you, but I just don't want to say it in front of everybody." And within a week, we were moving forward on the deal, had a valuations team on, so on and so forth. So there are a lot of ways to where you'll know when they come back to you with a side question, getting more information. Now, once you provide that information, there's 3 people. Sometimes one person might be all 3 roles, should I say, that you'll need to understand who's involved. You need the decision maker, the information holder, and the technician. So what do I mean by that? Say it's a small company and the decision maker obviously is the owner of the company. The decision maker often in any company, unless it's a solo entrepreneur, is not the information holder. Usually the information holder is the executive admin, the person who fields all the information, organizes the information, and gets it to where it needs to. That information holder is a person who you really need to develop a relationship with, because that information holder will let you know things that you otherwise would not have known about, right? Whether it's a separate tax issue, whether it's a separate project, whether they're selling an asset or bringing on an asset, so on and so forth. The third person, again, is a technician. That technician is really going to be the person who makes it happen. Now, again, the smaller companies might be one person being all, but in large companies, large corporations, a technician is a project manager, the engineer, the director of operations, the program manager, so on and so forth. They're the person that once the budget is identified, once everything signed off on, it's their job to make sure everything executes perfectly. They're going to have a whole different perspective than the information holder and the decision maker because they understand how long it's going to take to get something done. Somebody could say, yeah, we want to get this done by November, but the technician might say it's not going to get done in March because the holidays, weather, so on and so forth. Right? They say our federal government, politicians talk dates, military talks benchmarks. Right. So in that, you got to make sure you understand what's going on. So now that I talked about the different roles, how to identify the three, a major point in my career, a few different times in my career, my big question is, okay, where is everybody? Right? I know you're thinking that. Like I'm on LinkedIn, I research people's business websites, I connect people. I'm proactive enough to see someone is connected to somebody who I want to get connected to. So I'll send a connection request on LinkedIn, or I'll give somebody a call and ask if they know somebody. I get that call from our brokers all the time. And it's how and where do I find people? Where even do I start? I'll say there's two types of groups. This goes back to your mindset. There's two types of groups. There are the group of technicians on commercial real estate. You might say CCIM, Certified Commercial Investment Member. Those are the brokers who are actually transacting, who have dedicated their life to this practice, right? Those are the people that hold the knowledge about the market, the knowledge about how to get deals done, but you're not going to get any deals out of that group. Just to be honest with you, those are people who are more or less your competition, right? And then if you want to focus on a certain industry, such as physicians, or industrial users, or restaurateurs, or law firms, because they occupy most downtown buildings, right? The majority of them are law firms or accounting firms or CPAs. It's not going to be good to go to a happy hour in that part of town. Is to understand the discipline and the practice groups, whether there's CPAs of Dallas or CPAs of Houston. I know y'all gonna kill me in the comments. I know that's not the actual group name, but you all get the gist, right? You go to those, understand those organizations and reach out to those organizations. Those organizations are always looking for partners. Yes, there may already be a real estate or service provider, whatever your professional service is, who's reaching out to them and who's working with them. There always could be more, right? That's where you find that group of decision makers, of company decision makers. And the more you get involved in those groups, the more you can find subsets, other groups, so on and so forth, right? So ultimately, there's two different groups in whatever industry. There's a group of practitioners, which is you, that's going to give you the market updates, industry updates, or what have you, that you may not necessarily find the deals for. Then there's a group of clients, which frankly isn't 9 times out of 10 thinking of you as a service provider. You're thinking of them. So this is where your proactive mindset has to come in. Also, what I would tell my past mentees is this: as a professional, you can only afford, you could only afford to volunteer for three different groups, especially if you're young, enterprising, engaging, full of energy and talent. Wherever you go, you're going to get a nonprofit like, oh, we need you to get you on this committee. You would be great on that committee. We have a brand new initiative you can help us on. Listen, I was burned out plenty of times, sitting down on my couch, so busy, none of my own goals were being reached, but I was helping other people reach all of their other goals. Meanwhile, people were expecting me to reach my goals. My capacity was stretched thin. You could really only participate in three different groups. First, whatever your passion is, whether that's your church, your nonprofit, right, food banks, or pets, or dogs, or cats, or what have you, right? The second is the industry group to get an industry market update. You want to know who the leaders are in your industry, whether you're selling airplane engines or what have you. You want to know who the big leaders are, not just the companies, but who the point people are, who the top sales producers are, what they're doing and how they're doing it, right? And then third is, again, you want to get into the industry group where your clients are. Out of those three things, your time will be more than spoken for because you still have to do the work. You still have to reach out to people. You still have to get through all of the no's. You still have to do your business planning, sharpen your tools, sharpen your skill set, right? So that is the way to where you'll really get in and build your own base. And the timeline, I hear a lot of you all saying, oh, how long should I do this? My understanding, my goal, my recommendation is at least 2 years. Yes, 2 years. If you're not willing to do this for 2 years, don't even start. It takes 10 years for every overnight success. It takes 2 years for you to get established, 5 years for you to start making some real money, and 10 years to be the person everybody thinks you are day one. So, last but least, now that we've identified the groups, now that we know how to be intentional and build relationships, now that I've found these people, Murphy, how do I engage them? What do I do? What do I say? How do I actually make the contact and set up an appointment for next time? First things first, get to know them as a person. Don't get to know them as a resume. That's the worst thing, right? I mean, frankly, if I'm out and I'm meeting people and the first question is, what do you do? How long have you been there? Like, am I in an interview or am I in a conversation? Right? Get to know the person for the person. Understand the person, what they're going through. If they're married or not, the age of their kids, if they're from the area or not, what are their thoughts about restaurants. Like, really get to know them and really understand it. Don't make it like, and some of y'all will laugh, don't make it like you're on a date and someone's asking you Steve Harvey questions, right? Not any of that. The fact of the matter is, frankly, you want to get to know the person for the person, understand them, and then follow up with them with something that is truly personal to them that would help them out. My number one internal goal is that when somebody sees my name on their caller ID or on their inbox, they know I'm reaching out to help them and not reaching out to get something from them, right? That is my ultimate goal. As long as you're there genuinely and you understand what's going on, you understand their timeline, you're not going to rush their timeline, you're not going to push their timeline out. You have to stack timeline, stack understanding, and get to know people for themselves. In that, in closing, again, 4 principles. Number one is your mindset. This really goes to your mindset. Number two is your plan. You have to know your client. Talking to all my bankers and financial people out there. KYC, know your client. You can't offer value if you don't know them. Number three is execute. Put yourself out there. Get to know people. If you are too self-conscious to meet people, even if you research them to death online, this may not be for you. And that's okay. The third is to be sustainable. Well, fourth is to be sustainable and do this repetitively time and time and time again. Once you do that, you'll move forward and things should be good. Until then, thank you for tuning into this episode. To see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Murphy Cheatham podcast. If you found this information valuable, please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow.